Secrets is where Gerard will start, number 14 on our Season 3 leaderboard. Multiple-time Open Series champion this year as Chiho Yim will sacrifice a Scalding Tarn. Now for Yim, his deck list is a little bit different. If you're familiar with Chiho, doesn't really like to play a lot of creatures. He'll grind you down with like Entreat the Angels and Jace, but he's actually got 4 copies of Monastery Mentor and 2 copies of Snapcaster Mage this weekend to go along with all the spells that Miracles is known for playing.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting split. I would have expected him to see him play more Snapcasters and fewer Mentors, but rather than doing something like 2 Monastery Mentors in the sideboard, which we have seen out of players, I think we saw out of Jill Lissette yesterday.
We did.
Chiho has just 4 Mentors in the main. And I think to that effect, does not even have anything like Entreat the Angels in his deck. These Mentors are the win condition.
That's how he's planning on getting the W. Gerard gonna play another Delver, no flip on the previous one. Just pass the turn back, hoping that these things do flip for him. That's the plan.
And this is the punishing part. It's what Gerard wants in his starts is to have a lot of early pressure. It puts Chiho to the test of having something like Swords to Plowshares, Terminus, or Snapcaster Mage to go with it. What Gerard wants to do is be as punishing as possible when Chiho doesn't have removal.
Swords to Plowshares will take care of a Delver of Secrets. Chiho trying to slow down the aggression. And now, it's a Sensei's Divining Top. Perhaps. It'll get dazed. Fabiano, not flipping a Delver. He'll come across for 1. Chiho Yim going to go down to 16. Volcanic Island yet again, pass the turn back.
And it's games like this that make it look easy from the Miracle side. Say Gerard had a double Delver of Secret start, but just feels miles behind here. Hasn't been able to flip his Delvers. On top of that, all it would take is a Snapcaster Mage from Chiho to keep the board clear.
Gitaxian Probe here. 3 copies in the main deck. You do not see this card in Miracles.
Well, the 2 life Chiho had to pay for that probe is certainly not free.
You see Gerard's hand, Trinity Nemesis, a Daze, a Lightning Bolt, a Dig Through Time, and he did draw Volcanic Island last turn.
But if Chiho is willing to Gitaxian Probe here, that's a real show of strength on his side. He could have paid 1 blue for it, but just opted not to. Thanks to the knowledge of Daze in Gerard's hand, Chiho is not going to be able to go for a Snapcaster Mage here to get rid of the other Delver of Secrets.
Yeah, this is an interesting addition to this deck. Big fan of Gitaxian Probe in Legacy, but to see that card in Miracles, a deck that doesn't really want to pay 2 life, a deck that, for the most part, doesn't care about seeing your hand because they want to lock you out of the game, Lightning Bolt's going to be revealed to Delver of Secrets, so Insectile Aberration is here now.
The second Lightning Bolt should be a concern for Chiho. Gerard already has 1 in hand.
Yep.
But I do agree with you. It's interesting to see this. There's this Dig Through Time has really pushed the meta to a cantrip-heavy place. Normally, you would always just see Brainstorms in every blue deck, but now this whole Brainstorm entourage is following it around. It's not just Brainstorms. You see Brainstorms, 4 Ponders, some number of Dig Through Times, and some number of Gitaxian Probes show up in just about every blue deck. And it's because those, 9 to 12 cantrips just fuel the Delve spell.
Yim's going to draw 3 cards with the Brainstorm. He'll have to put 2 back. You saw him very carefully draw his first card because if he hit Terminus, he'd be able to cast it and take care of Delver. But he did not find that. So 2 cards going back here for Chiho. Now what's next? Swords of Plowshares. Bye-bye Delver. Important to have the removal spell there.
And this was the test. Gerard had 2 creatures early. Could Chiho find removal for both of them? He has. He's kept his life total reasonable. We know Gerard has 2 Lightning Bolts, but 14 is a good enough number.
At a virtual 8 right now is Chiho.
Right.
There's a Scalding Tarn.
And what I'm interested in here is to see how he starts to leverage Monastery Mentors in the matchup. Just how much pressure does he, or how much does he care about protecting them, say with a counterspell, versus just running them out and letting them get Lightning Bolted instead of him?
I think Mentor is so interesting in this deck because it closes so fast. Its closing speed is unbelievable. You can trigger prowess and make more monks with Sensei's Divining Top. He's got Ponders, he's got Brainstorms. it's not hard for him to kill very quickly with the card. He's going to start by sacrificing a Scalding Tarn. We'll see what land he wants to get. Looks like he's going to go with Basic Island.
All basics on Chiho's side. Here's Mentor. He does have a Ponder in hand.
Let's see if this does resolve. Don't believe Gerard has a counterspell. Though Gerard may have some interest in firing off lightning bolts right now.
Yeah, I believe Gerard has a copy of Daze, but that's not a counterspell that he can actually use here.
Mentor's in. Now here's Ponder. Lightning Bolt going to go after the Mentor. So Monk is on the way.
It looks like this was the trade that Chiho is fine making. Now, telling of this is the fact that Chiho has another copy of Monastery Mentor in hand, so he doesn't have to get too much value out of the first one.
I think Gerard might be considering dazing this Ponder.
Yeah, I think for Gerard, he has to wonder whether or not he's going to get in two things. One, will he ever get another spot to use Daze? Two, is this worth picking up a land?
Apparently the answer is yes. There's a Volcanic Island again. Pass the turn back.
2 mana up. Chiho knows that there's another Lightning Bolt in Gerard's hand. Chiho with both Snapcaster Mage and Monastery Mentor, along with a 5th land. I don't believe we'll see him go for Monastery Mentor unless he has another cantrip to immediately cash in.
Here's Snapcaster Mage. This is just, think of the way this game is being played right now from Chiho's side and calling this a Miracles deck. I don't see a top or a counterbalance out there. Or...
Yeah, well, he tried for Divining Top once.
Yeah. Here's Brainstorm, just showing that Miracles is flexible. It can play a normal game.
Keep in mind, Chiho is doing all this pre-combat so that he gets prowess triggers on his Monk token.
Swords of Plowshares, Counterbalance, Arid Mesa. Those are the 3 cards that have been added, and 2 cards will be going back.
Beautiful Brainstorm there. Got a fetch land. Got a lot of action cards. I assume he'll get rid of the Tundra that's left in his hand. I don't know what the second card he wants to get rid of, though. His remaining cards, Swords to Plowshares, Monastery Mentor, and Counterbalance all seem well positioned right now.
Yeah. Looks like he's considering putting Arid Mesa and then Mentor back. Yep, that's what he's going to do.
So now he doesn't actually have that shuffle.
Apparently he's okay with it because he wants to, what he's doing here, he's playing Counterbalance. He's got a 3 on top of his deck that he knows.
Yep.
A 3 might be okay against Gerard's deck. Doesn't do a lot, but he knows about True Nemesis in hand.
Exactly.
Yep.
So 3 is very important because it would be the one card that were Gerard to top deck it would be relevant.
Yep.
And like here's look, he's gotten Gerard to use the Lightning Bolt on a card that was not
unreal.
Wow, was not Master Mentor. And what foresight on Chiho Yim's side there. Just having the 3 for the true name.
Unreal. Set it up beautifully. Gerard peels a land.
Well played.
If he peels a land, he'll play a Shrine Nemesis. I'll counter it with my Mentor. I get to play my Mentor. I got a Swords of Plowshares in hand.
Not only did he use his Mentor to counter Gerard's true name, but his Snapcaster Mage drew the Lightning Bolt out of Gerard's hand there.
Yep.
And so now this Mentor's safe.
That was beautifully crafted.
Jeez.
There's a Lightning Bolt again.
Gerard has Lightning Bolt 3, so Mentor will still die.
Yep.
Top card is an Arid Mesa, so Chiho, I doubt will even flip it here.
Yep.
Now, if Gerard had a creature, he might burn off the Swords to Plowshares, but...
I think you just save it.
You don't get anything by using it.
Now, as we're working our way into the mid-game here, the thing that's gotten really interesting, as Chiho set up a beautiful turn there, is that Gerard does have Dig Through Time in hand.
Right, so this is what Dig Through Time has done, and we actually saw this yesterday when Gerard played against Michael Majors. Michael Majors was playing a similar Esper-themed control deck, and Major's able to survive the early turns, but the fact that this blue-red Delver deck just gets to play dig through times allowed Gerard to morph into the control deck, use his superior card advantage to actually take the late game off of Majors. Now, I think that'll be harder to do against a Miracles deck,
I do too.
but not impossible, and we're seeing Gerard go for it.
Here is Dig. Gerard going to delve away 6 cards. And this is a card that, ever since it was printed, he's been having a lot of success with. In Standard, in Modern, and now here in Legacy. He'll take a look at the top 7 cards, taking 2 with him, of course. Yim is in a pretty good spot at this point, but not a great one, because he's got an opponent resolving dig through time, and he knows what he's drawing next turn, which is Arid Mesa. He'll untap with that Jacob Wilson Monk token come across from 1. He'll play that Mesa, pass the turn back. Source of Plowshare's last card in hand. Fabiano with the Polluted Delta will just pass the turn back.
Yim's got to be real happy to see Fabiano with no plays there.
Yeah.
Remember, all Chiho actually has to do is stay alive until he finds a card like, well, ideally Sensei's Divining Top, but even a card like Dig Through Time should be enough from Chiho. Because he has a control deck, his Dig Through Times are still more powerful than Gerard's Dig Through Times.
Fabiano going to play another Dig Through Time.
Oh, what a backbreaker.
Yep.
Chiho has a chance to blind counter it if he has his own dig.
It's
not a dig, but
Chiho, this is interesting.
wow, I would not have expected this.
Yeah. He is shuffling away very quickly. He does not care about drawing top. And that makes sense as to why he's got a Pyroblast in hand. Okay.
All right. Big cost he had to pay there to counter the Dig Through Time means he does not get to top deck a Sensei's Divining Top. But Monastery Mentor on the way, only 1 Lightning Bolt left in Gerard's deck. This Mentor could go a long ways.
Delver of Secrets does resolve, but Yim has a Mentor in hand.
You should see if Chiho is willing to offer up his Monk token for the Delver of Secrets. At first, it looks like, yes, a Miracles player is always interested in trading. Then again, if he offers this trade, and then his Monastery Mentor that from his hand gets countered in some way, then Chiho has no threats.
Yep. Well, here's the attack. That 1 damage is going to come across. And it looks like he will deploy.
Monastery Mentor number 3 for Yim.
Ah, okay.
Ooh.
Forked Bolt is a timely reveal.
It is, but remember that last card in Chiho's hand, well, I'll pause stuff. It is a Swords to Plowshares, which you think would be good here, except that Chiho does not have another white mana in play, so this works.
Counterbalance does not counter the Forked Bolt. Now here comes the Delver. The follow-up is a True Name Nemesis here for Fabiano. Boy, the swings of this game. And the game that was looking very good for Chiho Yim. Fabiano is fighting back.
And, a Terminus can always save the day for Miracles.
Yep.
But, yeah, Chiho with no white mana there to save his Monastery Mentor. And it even goes back to just the little things. This is what I like about Legacy. If he had a Plateau in his deck, for example, to search up, then that Volcanic Island would have been a Plateau. He would have actually been able to Swords there. But because going back to that means he wasn't able to cast Swords to Plowshares, means he wasn't able to save his Monastery Mentor.
Every little thing adds up.
Yeah. And now because he doesn't have Mentor, racing True Name Nemesis seems very difficult.
Oh, yeah, that's very, very difficult to do. Now, Swords of Plowshares in the main phase is going to take care of the Delver of Secrets. Fabiano with a True Name Nemesis. And now he top decks a Ponder. Triggered the counterbalance. Ooh, a Ponder is revealed. That'll counter the Ponder. Fabiano gets to come across with 3, but more importantly, Chiho gets to draw a Ponder.
Yeah, that part's excellent. All he needs to find is something like a Terminus. Now, he didn't, but looks like he found some more cantrips.
Yeah, there's a Brainstorm in those 3 cards.
Yeah, Brainstorm does only look him 1 deeper. It is still probably better than shuffling off Ponder. Other 2 cards are pretty dead. The advantage actually to shuffling off Ponder is that if he draws a cantrip off Ponder, so I actually like the shuffle here, which seems counterintuitive, mainly because the upside off shuffling is much higher.
He's going to probe.
Okay,
nothing over
probe. There. Okay, that actually changed it where this line is good now.
Now he's brainstorming.
You see 2 new cards.
Ooh, Terminus is there.
Yep. and not too soon here. He's going to go to 3 next turn.
Yeah, going to 3 is scary, though, against the Lightning Bolt deck. I know that Gerard has cast quite a few of them to take care of some mentors and things of that nature.
3 bolts have been cast by Gerard, and they've all been delved away. So there is only 1 Lightning Bolt in Gerard's deck.
Here come the beatdowns. Terminus is being cast. It's resolving. That's Yim's turn now. Yim knows what's on top of his deck, which is a land, so you have to imagine that Flooded Strand's going to get sacrificed pretty soon here.
No creature, no creature.
Yeah.
Because he knows, not only does he know he has a land on top, but lands don't counter anything with counterbalance.
Fabiano going to cast Brainstorm.
Love the timing on the Brainstorm
Same.
here from Fabiano. He waited until Chiho went to crack that fetch land.
It's really good timing there by Gerard. Because if Chiho is cracking his fetch land, he knows what is on top
card's
is
got to
garbage.
be a land.
Yeah.
I mean, not just garbage, because Miracle doesn't have garbage cards. It's just a land.
Sure.
Which means this Brainstorm is just safe. And there's Lightning Bolt number 4.
That is going to do it. Gerard Fabiano is going to win game number 1 here over Chiho Yim.
Great timing by both players. You saw some mastery on Chiho's side, especially with that Monastery Mentor flip. But with Gerard, excellent timing on a Brainstorm to find his outer of the 1 Lightning Bolt and hits. So Gerard Fabiano takes the game.
Yeah, Blue Red Delver up a game here over Miracles as we get ready here for game number 2 between these 2 great players. Great back and forth. And now they're going to take a look at the 15 cards in their sideboard. We're going to start with Chiho, who's got 3 Surgical Extractions, 2 Flusterstorm, a Pithing Needle, a Wear Tear, 2 Aethersworn Canonist, 2 Meddling Mage, a Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, and then 2 copies of Pyroclasm.
Well, Chiho's got a pretty good setup for this fight. Cards like Pyroclasm, Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast all seem very good here. I'd expect him to use them to navigate through Gerard's early game. Mainly what we need to see is that Chiho has to operate on 2 goals. The first goal is he needs to make sure he has a critical mass removal to deal with Monastery, Swift Spears, and Delver of Secrets. Okay? He can't take too much damage off that. Second goal is keep Dig Through Time under control. Gerard resolved 2 of them that game, and that may have just been what sealed the deal. So cards like Pyroclasm to deal with the early creatures, cards like these Pyroblasts and Red Blasts to deal with the digs, and I think Chiho is fine.
On the other side, what do we see for Gerard?
All right, well, for Gerard, he's got some ways to mix up his threats. He has a copy of Sulfuric Vortex. That's going to be excellent. It's another way that he can attack Chiho. He doesn't have too many ways to deal with a problematic permanent. He has some blasts of his own, 2 Pyroblasts, and on Gerard's side, I expect them both to be in. He has a Pithing Needle that will take care of any sort of turn 1 Sensei's Divining Top starts that Chiho could have. Other cards he has, Flusterstorm of his own. He has Blood Moons and Submerges Umezawa's Jites in his sideboard. I don't think he'll go toward any of those.
Fair enough. Both these players just about done going to the drawing board. Chiho Yim will be on the play here for game number 2 with his Miracles deck. But we'll very quickly talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news. You can get the latest on the SCG Open Series. You can watch the Open Series a match of the week, and if game 1 if game 2 is as good as game 1, it might be this one right here. Receive exclusive deck lists and advice from some of the Star City Games columnists. If you are signing up for the newsletter for next month, Gerard Fabiano will actually be our exclusive columnist for the month. You can catch up on all event results and read an exclusive cardboard credit comic. Best of all, it is free to sign up for StarCityGames.com/newsletter for more information. As now we do turn our attention back to the match and on Gerard Fabiano, a player who is 8-1 here and up a game. 32 years old, lives close by from Belleville, New Jersey. 9 Open Series top 8s with 5 wins, a couple of those coming this year. 1 Pro Tour top 8 at Pro Tour Boston 2002. 9 GP top 8s with 3 wins, Grand Prix Baltimore 2014. GP Montreal as well in the same year, and then GP Philadelphia way back in 2008. He's a high school teacher, most Planeswalker points of anyone in the United States, and a former anti-smoking Truth Tour marketer, and he's played in 50 Pro Tours.
Right, and now, we were actually talking yesterday off camera about Gerard Fabiano. I think it's rare to say this for someone who's such a veteran as him, 50 plus Pro Tours, but it's so rare to find someone who's been in the community, who's been on the pro scene so long, has been a high level player, to then see late in their career just elevate their game even further. And Gerard, I think, has been one of, he really sticks out to me as one of those players who has done that. He has, been on the cusp of trained pro for years on end, and then I think in the last few years, he's taken his play style, which you used to kind of see as quirky, this mid-range Sultai thing, like, oh yeah, that's Gerard doing Gerard things, and now it's just, that's Gerard doing good things. And I feel like these last couple years, in the last 12 months, Gerard has really pushed his game into the top players of Magic.
Yeah, calling it Gerard things, we had to call his Sultai deck
Yeah.
Sultai cards I own.
Oh, it's plus Ashiok.
Yeah, very true. Ashiok, really a Gerard card. But, when we kind of poke fun at Gerard, what we realized, and I really realized this at the Open Series in DC during Season 1 when he was playing the Seder Wayfinder Sultai control deck, we were like, well, what's Seder Wayfinder even doing here? He's basically splashing for it. And really what it was is, and we know this now, it was a dig through time deck with Seder Wayfinder, and Seder Wayfinder was busted.
Yeah, and so it's not, suddenly Gerard doing Gerard things is, wait, maybe Gerard's actually onto something. And I mean, it wasn't that long before suddenly lots of control decks were just playing Seder Wayfinders.
Yeah.
Wait, Gerard was just right.
Yeah, he was ahead. And he has been ahead a lot in his Magic career, and he's currently up a game right now against Chiho Yim. Yim with a Taxian Probe to start things off. Now he's got a Tundra, and he'll play a Ponder. Ponder becoming an inclusion in a lot of Miracles decks now. Some players were kind of on the fence about it. Now we even see a player like Joe Lissette, who was very anti-Ponder, start to slot a couple into his deck this weekend. Chiho Yim resolves his. He's going to keep those cards and pass the turn back over to Fabiano, who's got a Delver.
Dude, you can't cut the cantrips.
No.
So Gerard's hand I actually want to talk about a bit because it was a borderline hand. He had only one land. It's that Volcanic Count. Now it has 2 Delver of Secrets and a Pithing Needle. So there's a lot of upside to it. But if he doesn't hit the second land here and doesn't have that velocity to start playing 2 cards in a turn, I'm concerned about his chances in the game.
Well, I do think about the last game where he was stuck on one land for a little while, was able to work his way out of it, and then work his way towards a W. So while I do agree with you on the whole, and he has found a second land, he can still work off of one, but he's got a second one here, and he's going to play a copy of Pithing Needle.
Yeah, and to that effect, 2 might be all he needs. At this point, he does have cards like Delver of Secrets. I believe he has a Red Blast in his hand.
Sensei's Divining Top, the name with Pithing Needle. Not much of a surprise.
That's what you
there.
always name. That's so important to them. I mean, Gerard took a turn off to Pithing Needle a card that's not in play.
Yep.
That's how much respect he's giving to Sensei's Divining Top.
As you should when you're playing against Miracles.
It is just their best card.
Might be time for another Gataxian Probe here.
So
You're
much
just thinking about
Yeah,
it.
so much innovation on both sides here. I do like that Chiho is just jamming these Gataxian Probes into his Miracles deck.
Snapcaster Mage, Pyroblast, Force of Will, Dig Through Time, Daze. That's the grip here for Fabiano.
Okay, so not actually a second Delver. He's got a reactive hand. But this is the power of Dig Through Time, is that Gerard can actually keep these kind of hands with a reasonable expectation of winning.
There's a Brainstorm. You see the way Yim cast that there, too. Or it's like, all right, you want to Pyroblast this? He might.
Yeah, I mean, because he has Dig Through Time in hand, I think he will. He just wants to build some graveyard count. And Brainstorm's a reasonable card to trade with.
Third land there for him as an island. Excuse me. We're going to head back Fabiano's way. He'll play a Ponder. That's going to resolve.
Yep, Chiho knows that means Gerard did not draw a land. See what he ponders into. Remember his cards. Snapcaster Mage, Daze, Dig Through Time, and now Monastery Swiftspear appears to be the card he kept.
Yeah. In for 1. Yim going to go down to 14.
Love it from Gerard. Sets up a threat. If there's a land on top of the deck for him, he has the option of Snapcasting that Ponder next turn.
Brainstorm. That'll resolve. Pyroblast. Flooded Strand. Terminus are the cards added to Chiho's hand.
Terminus just so powerful. That 1-mana sweeper that we see out of Miracles. Looks like Chiho's going to queue it up for next turn.
Not much of a surprise there. It's a Scalding Tarn and a passing of the turn.
And almost is on cue. Gerard drawing land 3 here.
Here comes Swiftspear, just for 1.
I'm interested. If Gerard was going to Snapcast a Ponder that turn, he probably would have done it before Monastery Swiftspear. And what a good read from Gerard. After that Brainstorm, doesn't commit the Snapcaster Ponder play, which really is going to take some wind out of the sails on this Terminus that Chiho has.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where Gerard just wants to leave up Snapcaster Mage plus Pyroblast. Not to say, excuse me, that Snapcaster Mage plus Ponder is not attractive.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is much better against a card like Terminus.
Yeah. So Terminus is going to be revealed. And part of the reason that you see Chiho going this route, kind of he's going to play Terminus. You know, he tapped the mana really quickly and then untapped it. It's because Stifle works its way into the equation and can certainly be in a blue or Delver deck. So he's got to resolve it correctly, which is resolve the Miracle Trigger,
Yes.
pay for it, then Terminus will resolve or can be countered, what have you.
Yeah, so how Miracle works is when you draw the card, you reveal it. It puts a trigger on the stack, which allows you to pay it for its Miracle cost. So you can stifle the Miracle ability, which means that Chiho would have to pay full value and cast it during his turn, as opposed to casting it for 1 during his draw step.
Now here's Snapcaster Mage.
Gerard is playing the value game right now. The one axis where Gerard's not firing very well on is because he's using cards like Snapcaster Mage and his creatures are dying to things like Terminus and Swords to Plowshares, is his graveyard only has 2 cards in it right now, which is not helping him build up toward the Dig Through Time in his hand.
Well, it's going down to 1 now because he's flashing back a Ponder.
Right.
Chiho going to sacrifice a Scalding Tarn. See what land he wants to search up here. He's going to go with a Volcanic Island. And now, aha. When you see a player reach for their graveyard like that, you know what's coming.
Gerard not the only player who has Dig Through Time.
Yep. Like, if you're playing Blue and Legacy and not at least 2 copies of Dig Through Time, at least 2, probably should be at least 3, you're doing it wrong. There's a Force of Will. Chiho's got a Pyroblast for that.
He insists.
I mean, this is just not the kind of card you want to see resolved if you're on either side of the table. It's resolving for Chiho now, so he'll take a look at the top 7 and take 2 with him.
See what sort of value you can set up. Now remember, that Pithing Needle is on Sensei's Divining Top, but what I imagine we'll see happen is going to be a repeat of Game 1, whereas instead of going toward Counterbalance and Divining Top, Chiho will simply go toward Monastery Swift Spear plus some more spells.
Monastery Mentor.
You're right, sorry, Monastery
That's okay.
Mentor.
That's okay. I was thinking the same thing briefly. 5 cards to the bottom. Chiho is happy with his 2. Gerard's resolving his Ponder now. That's what started this whole thing. Snapcaster Mage on Ponder.
Gerard with a Dig Through Time of his own in his hand. Chiho knows about that from a Gitaxian Probe early on.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, Gerard's graveyard's just not very big. Here's a Delver of Secrets.
Right, well, Gerard's sideboard cards like Pithing Needle don't go into the graveyard. Chiho's removal doesn't put things into the graveyard. Gerard has been snapcasting a lot of his own spells. There just hasn't been much addition here. What would have helped is if Gerard's lands had come off fetch lands, he'd be in a better spot.
Mm-hmm. There's Mentor. Here's Brainstorm. Trigger. Get a Monk token.
Here's the power. Remember, this Monastery Mentor a 4 of in Chiho Yim's Miracles deck.
A top, a Snapcaster, and a Terminus. Okay. Now it's going to start to get interesting, especially if that Delver flips. What does he want to do with Terminus when he has Monastery Mentor on the battlefield? Does he feel like he can race? It seems tough because he's a 12, Fabiano's a 20, but Mentor closes out a game real fast. Chiho's hand here with a Brainstorm. Oh, wow, he's going to sacrifice. This is very telling because he put Terminus back on top of the deck, and now he's shuffling it away.
Yeah, rather than wanting to sweep the board and play a control game, Chiho is going to challenge Gerard to answer this Monastery Mentor.
He's Brainstorming again. Another Monk token.
And this is real. This is interesting. Traditional Miracle decks don't take lines that are aggressive like this.
Yep. It's a very different build. Now, he's found Terminus again. He's also got Force of Will and Snapcaster Mage in hand. So he can take 2 very different paths.
Yeah, and so he does have the Terminus queued up for next turn. But with how the board looks, I don't know that he'll be using it.
Now, Force of Will is the resolve for, or excuse me, is the reveal for Fabiano. That's a powerful one right now. He's coming across.
Well, he does have the life total advantage, 20 to 11.
Yep.
Gerard is ahead.
I think a Mentor token's probably going to jump in front of Snapcaster Mage. Yep.
But he does take 3. He's at 8. Now, as you said before, Monastery Mentor, when it comes to racing, can really do some racing. This is interesting. There's a Terminus on top of Chiho's deck.
I don't know what I want to do if I'm him. with this turn. I have no clue what I would want to do. I also know my opponent has Force of Will in hand. Yep.
Just going to draw
He
it.
doesn't want to let it go.
And I like where Chiho decided to make that decision. Did it during Gerard's end step. So now Gerard, there's a couple, Gerard has to think why Chiho was thinking there. Maybe Chiho has a brainstorm that he could have cast during upkeep.
Here comes Mentor and the Monk token.
And that's 3 damage for 3 damage. That race does not seem like it favors Chiho.
Gerard barely even looks at his card. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, his Chiho to 5, now to 4. I don't think this is interesting, and I just like how Gerard has neutralized all of Chiho's Terminus, whether it was that Monastery Swift Sphere that Gerard just didn't play a Snapcaster into, or even here, he's just not committing anything to the board, and he's forcing Chiho to Terminus his own creatures.
Chiho will untap. He'll draw.
Need something like Swords. Something like Swords to Plowshares would go a long way for him.
Well, I did just draw a Ponder. Now, Gerard's hand, I believe, only 2 cards. We know, if it's more than that, we know at least 2 of the cards. Force of Will and Dig Through Time.
Right, now remember, Gerard does not have to pitch to the Force of Will either. He has a 5th land now.
Yep. That's super important.
Yeah, and especially have a blue-red Delver deck, which does so little with its lands in the late game. Gerard would be more than happy to just pay 5. Have that extra card. Put cards numbers 4 and 5 in his graveyard. Set up for a nice dig through time. Life is good from Gerard Fabiano's side.
Chiho Yim is going to start with a Ponder, trigger Monastery Mentor. It's also going to trigger Prowess a bunch. That's in. Going to take a look at the top 3 cards. In a perfect world, he finds Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, we'll see. Can he find Sword to Plowshares? A Pyroblast would do it too. He has 2 red blasts out of the board that he can use. Those would take care of the Insectile Aberration. Just any sort of removal spell would be great for Chiho here, as he has the creature advantage. Monastery Mentor making an army here. All of them have prowess. Just needs to not lose the race to this 3-2.
Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind here too that's pretty tough if you're Chiho. He's got Force of Will and Snapcaster Mage in hand. But let's say, for example, Gerard gets to attack him down to 1, then Force of Will's off the table as far as alternate casting cost is concerned, since it does require you to pay a life. So he's keeping with Ponder. Picked up a Counterbalance.
That's good here, but I'm not sure it's enough.
Here's Snapcaster Mage.
All right, now he does have a red blast. He has a Pyroblast, I believe, in his graveyard. That will take care of the Insectile Aberration. However, we both know that Gerard has a Force of Will in hand.
Now, Chiho does have Force of Will plus blue card in his hand. And it looks like, yeah, he's going to use Pyroblast. And that will trigger Prowess and make a Monk. And you can see Chiho has Force of Will and Counterbalance at the ready.
That die in the middle of the table, that's the number of prowess triggers that have happened this turn. For the 1 Monk and the Monastery Mentor, those are the 2 eligible attackers.
Now 4-4 and 3-3. Gerard not fighting back.
Wow, okay. Yeah, he does have a Force of Will in his hand. Possibility of 5 mana, and no, he'll let this one happen.
Yeah. Here's an attack for 7.
What are you up to, Mr. Fabiano? You know, originally I would say maybe he has something like a Rough Tumble. If you saw Mentors, he could try to get a real good coup with one of those.
Here's
But,
Dig.
yeah, it's just going to be dig through time. And Gerard, I think, is on the game plan of let's find some burn spells. Sure, you can have my creatures. I'll have your life total.
So I know what's in Fabiano's hand if I'm Chiho right now. It's Force of Will.
Yes.
I don't know what's on top of his deck because he resolved a Ponder, and I believe he knows the next card that he's drawing, but if I'm Chiho, I can't let this resolve. I know there's a lot to think about, but I don't think I can let this resolve.
I mean, if Gerard's top card is a Lightning Bolt, then he's just pulled off a real big coup. But you're right. Dig Through Time is countered. Last card's Force of Will. That's no help. But Chiho had to go to 3 to do that.
All right, Gerard's sacrificing that fetch land, so he knows
All right.
what the top card is. It's not a Lightning Bolt. So now I need some real help. He can cantrip in a lightning bolt. He can draw a lightning bolt naturally.
And if you know Gerard, what I do like about this is you can imagine he's counting his outs here.
Probably.
Though he has no card selection in his hand, he wants to know the score.
Yeah.
Question from my side is, how many turns does Gerard have? My guess is 1.
It feels like 1 is the likely answer.
If Chiho has any non-creature spell, it's 1.
Yeah.
5 creatures with prowess in play.
And if you're Chiho, you want it to be 1. Depending on what Gerard draws, it might be none. Let's see what he draws. He's going to slow roll himself a little bit, as he always does.
Oh, peeking. Okay, we're still playing. Ooh, I think it might be a cantrip, though.
Triple slow roll then. Fabiano doing a little bit of math here.
8 damage as it shows on the table. 1 spell will put it out of range. So I think I think it's a Gitaxian probe. So he's wondering whether he has to pay life or mana for it. Well, it's going to be mana. Life would ensure it's a 1-turn clock.
It's mana. Hiya, slow roll himself again.
Is it peeking up from behind? Did he win?
Okay.
Oh gosh! All right. 3 more. He's gonna do these. He's gonna do them one at a time. All right. I like puts the known card in front. Here's the first pick.
Quite the show.
Nope, that one doesn't win. How about the next one? Nope. All right, I got one more. I got one more chance. Ooh, doesn't look like we hit.
Do we have any redraws here in his hand? He's got to put 2 cards back. Don't forget that, since it is a brainstorm.
That is true. Can't have them all. Among them, it looks like he has a polluted Delta. He has that Force of Will to get rid of. I think he may have another Gitaxian probe, or possibly a True Name Nemesis. That would be a very interesting draw.
True Name would be very interesting here.
It would mean Gerard wins unless Chiho has a spell.
Yep.
All right.
That's True Name.
All right, 8 damage on the table for Chiho. Can he draw a non-creature spell? It's counterbalance. That'll pump the team and should be lethal.
Yep, that'll be plenty. All the prowess triggers, everything like that. Gerard gets to block 1 creature that has 3 power. Chiho is able to push through exactly 10 points of damage. And Chiho Yim is going to tie things up here against Gerard Fabiano. Miracles, Blue Red Delver. They're getting ready for game number 3. Chiho could not draw that card fast enough since he knew it was on top of his deck.
Yeah, I had to do the quick math. You're right there, though. We had 4 monks. They prowess to 2/2s plus the Snapcaster Mage. That's 10 damage. The largest creature is Monastery Mentor. Gerard can block it, but he takes exactly 10 to go to 0.
Chiho Yim, Gerard Fabiano getting ready for game number 3. Chiho is going back to the drawing board a little bit. Gerard looks happy enough with this configuration. One thing to keep in mind here as well, the time there, about 12 minutes. This is not a slow matchup, but it's not quick either. Somewhere in between. I imagine these players will have enough time to get done.
Well, and I mean, yeah, you talk about pacing of games in Legacy. The number of cantrips that most decks are playing right now really does dictate the pace of the game.
Well, these players are going to get ready here very quickly, so we'll do the same. We'll talk very briefly about the Summer Creature Collection here with Star City Games. We've got playmats, we've got sleeves, we've got bundles of the Piglet, the Monkey, the Kraken?
The Kraken.
The Kraken.
And
Deathrite Salmon. All available here for the next couple of months. We, of course, will have the Autumn Creature Collection coming for you soon. But again, playmat, sleeves, bundles, starcitygames.com/creature collection for more information about all of these fantastic products. As we do get ready here for game number 3, you know, one of the best parts about the Invitational is that we're going to have great players making deep runs. They're going to run into each other. So we get to see something like this where we normally don't. Gerard Fabiano, he's, of course, a New Jersey guy. Chiho Yim lives in the Alabama area, so he's not going to be able to come to all of our opens. But to get to see a match between these 2 great players is always a blast, and it has not disappointed.
Yeah, seeing both these players trying to make their way back to the Players' Championship. Gerard was there last year. Chiho Yim, someone who has not qualified yet, but is always just floating around that leaderboard.
Yeah. We don't get to see him a ton in the Open Series, but when we do, we see him win. He's multiple-time Open Series champion, multiple-time Invitational top 8s as well. I believe top 8 at 2 of them last year. Fabiano, of course, the runner-up of the Players' Championship last year. And he wants to go back, and he is in good position to do that for an at-large bid at the end of the year. We're underway here in game number 3. Polluted Delta is where Fabiano will start. He's down to 19.
And what has been telling to me about this game is the strategy that Chiho Yim has decided to take. In both games, he has really gotten away from the counterbalance divining top lock, which is normally what you'd see a Miracles player try to do against a Delver deck. He's really had the pillar of his strategy be Monastery Mentor instead. So instead of trying to control the game and use Terminuses to just lock it out, he's trying to turn the corner.
Here comes Swift Spear. Fabiano off to a fast start. Counterbalance the draw here for Chiho.
There's some danger here on Chiho's side, especially when he's on the draw. Some of Gerard's openings can be devastatingly good.
Chiho going to cast a Ponder, get his deck set up a little bit.
Gerard will have, because Chiho let off on Tundra, not off on Island, Gerard will have to entertain the possibility of a turn 2 Terminus.
Yes.
You know, say he has another Swift Spear in hand. He may not want to deploy the entire team.
It's a shuffle here with Ponder.
And at that point, that might just be a green light from Gerard.
Pyroclasm the draw. Ooh, yeah.
Talked about that. Chiho needs to do two things. One is control Gerard's early aggression. Two is not let dig through time resolve. That Pyroclasm will really help for the first one.
Well, you mentioned a second Swift Spear. Fabiano does have it, but he started things off with a Wasteland, and now Chiho is really behind the 8-ball.
Yeah, he has the Pyroclasm, but I don't know if he'll ever get to enough mana to cast it.
I don't know either. And also keep in mind, for what it's worth, Pyroclasm against Swift Spear doesn't always line up great.
It's no, it's
it's not hard for Gerard to push that out of Pyroclasm
You sure
range.
can always daze that play.
Yeah, feel free. Now Force of Will, removing counterbalance, trying to aggressively counter a Swift Spear.
Big respect on Chiho's side.
I think he has to, given the lack of lands.
Yeah, if he had 2 lands in play and the ability to cast the Pyroclasm, he may be able to avoid taking that line. But a draw from Chiho is a Force of Will, and I'm not sure he kept many more lands.
Well, there's an Arid Mason hand. I don't know if there's anything beyond that, though.
Yeah, it may just be that. We'll see what he chooses to fetch. This is very interesting here because there's some temptation to get a Volcanic Island because he has the Pyroclasm in hand and wants to curve into it. At the same time, he may just need to get a blue source for Tundra.
Yeah, one thing he can't get here is a basic.
Yeah, basic plains.
Basic plains,
No,
basic mountains.
He can't cast those.
No, those aren't going to work. Brainstorm too powerful.
Yeah, doesn't actually have a basic mountain in his list.
Okay.
Actually just has 2 Volcanic Island as his only red sources, so he has to be conservative about when he gets them. Here's a Brainstorm. Looks like he's found one of Cavern of Souls. That's something that we've seen both Chiho and Jolisette move toward this weekend.
Yeah, I think a fantastic conclusion into the deck, especially for your Miracles Mirrors. Here's a Ponder. That's going to resolve. You'll get a Prowess trigger for the Swift Spear. Fabiano going to consult the grip before resolving the Ponder.
And
Looks like he's happy. He'll keep him.
all right.
Does he have a second land to play? He does. It's a basic island.
Does he have a follow-up threat? That'll be an interesting part.
Yeah, not a bad spot to have a Delver. This will be an attack for 2.
Looks like he has a Lightning Bolt in hand.
You mentioned the Cavern of Souls in Chiho's hand. We know he's got that, so at least a land to play.
Yeah, and I don't believe Chiho, because he did not have the mana to cast Pyroclasm, he's put the Pyroclasm away, and this is where that fetch off Arid Mesa into something that wasn't red, it comes back to get him.
We will confirm what Cavern of Souls is naming.
Yeah, all his creatures in his list, I believe, are humans, so it seems like a straightforward name.
We will go with human. Here's a Brainstorm. This is inside the attack, it appears. So this will trigger Prowess. A little bit more damage will be dealt.
Gerard's Monastery Swift Spear's doing work. Chipping away for 2 to 3 a turn. There's 2 more. Chiho at 12 now.
There's Swords.
Or rather, staying at 14.
Yeah, trying to. Fabiano not going to have a fight over that.
Does he have a follow-up threat? The answer's been yes up to this point, and it is yes again.
Delver secrets now. Looks like that's going to resolve.
Chiho, as he draws that Pyroclasm, doesn't have the red source, and here comes damage. Delver flips off Lightning Bolt. That's the second Lightning Bolt in Gerard's hand, so Chiho's at 11 and at a virtual 5 here.
Here's a Brainstorm now for Fabiano. He's going to draw 3. He'll place 2 back here momentarily. He is the aggressor, and yet somehow in control of what's happening in this game. He's got to like his spot.
Well, and there's huge pressure on Chiho to top deck a land next turn. He doesn't know any of his top cards anymore. That Pyroclasm was the last one he put back off Brainstorm, so this draw is blind. But is it a land? It needs to be. Or at the very least, it needs to be a Swords to Plowshares. I don't know if it was either.
Here's Snapcaster Mage.
It's interesting. I somewhat expected the Snapcaster Mage to go for a Lightning Bolt. But this is more damage right now.
And this is added pressure, is what this is. Because if this resolves, maybe you flash back the Brainstorm, whatever.
It's
but
still
then
2 damage.
Yeah, you get 2 damage in, 11 down to 6, and then the double bolts can finish things. Now Chiho has to use a Forcible on a card you have to imagine he does not want to use a Forcible on.
He tries to force the Snapcaster Mage. And it looks like Gerard countered back. Yeah, it was a Pyroblast out of his hand that took care of the Force of Will. So here's an attack that puts Chiho down to 5. Here's 1 Lightning Bolt. Here's another Lightning Bolt. Can Chiho respond? The second one's going to put him down to below 0, and he cannot. So Gerard Fabiano in 3 takes the match.
Gerard Fabiano takes care of Chiho Yim 2 games to 1. Blue-Red Delver takes down Miracles. And for Fabiano, he moves on to 9-1 here in New Jersey. The Season 3 Invitational is lining up beautifully here for him. A lot of rounds left to be played here, of course, but Gerard's got to be thrilled with how things are going. Very, very impressive display between